Right now, I'm sick, and in the last 3 days, I've gone for 3 runs and I've gone to the gym 3 times. Now, when you get sick, it's a tough decision to make as to whether you should train or not. The best solution to this is to just not get sick at all, and I'll cover that later. But there are a few reasons why I'm still training whilst being sick, but it does depend on a few things. The first thing I want to say is that it is extremely easy to use sickness as an excuse to not train. In the past few days, I've had the thought of, don't train, you're sick, your body needs to rest. And to some extent, that might be a valid thought if you're sick enough though. When it comes to determining whether you're sick enough to the point that you shouldn't train, it requires an assessment. And you have to assess really how sick you are. Are you coughing constantly to the point where you're coughing up mucus every minute? Or do you just have a bit of a headache or something? If you're coughing up mucus every few minutes, well then maybe at that stage, it's clear that you should probably be resting, don't engage in any physical activity. But if it's the latter, you have a tiny headache, or maybe you've just got a tiny bit of a blocked nose, really ask yourself, if I had to go for a run, or if I had to go to the gym, like my mother's life depended on it, could I reasonably do it? And I think most of the time you'd be able to get through that session completely fine, which is what I've been experiencing these past 3 days. And the decision to train or not when you're sick is not a binary decision. It's not whether you should just train or don't train. You can still train, but engage in a bit of a lighter activity. So if you're going for a run, maybe just go at a slower pace or cover a shorter distance. Or if you're training in the gym, maybe you lower the weight, lower the amount of reps, or just lower the amount of time that you are spending in the gym. Just make the intensity of your sessions a bit lower when you're feeling sick, because I don't think it's smart to go all out, balls to the wall when you are feeling a bit sick. That just doesn't make sense. But you can still keep that momentum going through a period of sickness by just engaging in lighter activity. And the good thing about just maintaining a level of physical activity throughout a period of sickness is that you keep your momentum going. So let's say you're out for about 2 weeks, you don't train at all. And then after the 2 weeks, you go back to the gym or you go back out for a run, and it's just a lot harder because you've not done it for 2 weeks. And I think there's definitely something to be said for just slowly bubbling along and just keep going, even if it is smaller or lighter sessions of running or going to the gym. In the past, I have stopped training altogether while I've been sick, when I probably could have trained. And I don't think that served me. I didn't get better any faster, I don't think. And when you take such a long break off from the gym, you lose momentum. And then when you come back to the gym or go back out for whatever exercise you're doing, there's just that added difficulty to it because you haven't done it for so long. So you might be in the gym, for example, and those weights are just feeling so much heavier than they used to. Of course, you'll get back to the stage where you're making progress again, but wouldn't it just be better to keep going where you left off? And you can easily do that by just pulling the weight back and training while you're still sick. The other thing here is that periods of sickness are kind of grey. And what I mean by that is you can still feel the effects of being sick for a few weeks after you've actually hit the peak of your sickness. So it's a bit hard to determine, well, at what point do I actually resume training? Because technically I'm still sick and I'm feeling the residual effects of that sickness maybe a week ago. And the way to go about doing that, I think, is just at your peak sickness, you should be at the lowest intensity exercise. And as your sickness intensity comes down, your physical activity intensity should come up. And then eventually you're going to get to the stage where your physical activity intensity is at its highest and you're no longer sick anymore. Now, I did say at the start of this video, the best solution to this problem is to just never get sick. And you don't even have to worry about a decision to train or not. Now, there are ways you can never get sick, or at least when you do get sick, reduce the severity of that sickness. And honestly, the way to not get sick is simple. It's eating clean foods, drinking enough water, getting sunlight, going outside, exercising regularly, sleeping well. It's all these basics of human life that will prevent you from getting sick. Also, I think there's something to be said about working hard generally and how that can prevent you from being sick. Because if you think about it, when you work hard and there are these stresses on you, your body is able to adapt to that higher level of stress. And sickness is a stress to the body. And if you're more able to deal with stress, well then the severity of the sickness that you feel is probably going to be less. About a year ago, I probably had the worst sickness of my life, and it was no coincidence. I think when you get sick, you have to think, well, there's something that's caused my sickness. And if you look back on maybe the past 3 weeks of your life and look at the habits you've been doing, you can probably figure out why you got sick. So yeah, about a year ago, I had this worst sickness of my life. And guess what the preceding month was before I got that sickness? It was constant drinking, eating horrible food, horrible sleep, not exercising, and probably not drinking enough water either. So if you just keep to those core habits, you'll never get sick, or at least if you inevitably get sick because someone with the Black Death has just slobbered all over you, then at least when you get sick, the severity of that sickness won't be as bad and you can still continue training. So hopefully that's provided you with some insight as to whether you should train or not while you're sick. If you enjoyed or learned anything from this video, please consider subscribing. We are getting to 2,000 subscribers. And as always, drop a like, drop a comment, and let me know what your thoughts are. I do also offer one-to-one coaching. And if you're interested in that, click the top link in the description and you can book a call with me to learn further. Thank you and see you later.